15 Golden Age stars who vanished and were never seen again. They dazzled millions on the silver screen, and then they vanished. Hollywood loves selling us the fantasy of immortality. We watch old movies and see them there, forever young, forever beautiful, suspended in celluloid amber like prehistoric insects. They seem perfect, unchanging, eternal. But behind that illusion is a darker truth. Some of Hollywood's Golden Age biggest stars didn't just fade away. They literally disappeared. They didn't just leave the screen. They slipped out of public consciousness entirely. They exited the spotlight so completely that even the most devoted fans of theirs never learned what became of them. Hollywood creates stars, but it's equally efficient at making them disappear, says veteran entertainment journalist Margaret Collins. The same machine that transforms nobodies into household names can erase them just as thoroughly when they're no longer profitable or when they break the rules. These disappearances came in many forms. Some actors walked away by choice. Others were pushed out, blacklisted, abandoned, or broken by the system that once celebrated them. What connects their stories is the completeness of their disappearance and the profound questions they leave behind. How does a person known to millions just disappear? What personal and commercial forces can erase a human being completely from popular memory? As film historian Robert Thompson puts it, the public assumes famous people stay famous forever, but Hollywood operates like a memory machine. It determines not only who becomes a star, but also who stays in memory. Once that machine stops refreshing the image of a person in the public consciousness, even major celebrities can slide into oblivion with amazing speed. These were stars who once commanded the world's attention and then disappeared so completely that their fates are, to this day, unknown to most. Get comfortable. These stories do not come with happy Hollywood endings. Number 1. Barbara Loden. Barbara Loden did not simply drift away from Hollywood. Hollywood closed its doors on her and never opened them again. After having written, directed, and acted in the 1970 film Wanda, she should have become launched into the ranks of groundbreaking filmmakers. The film received the International Critics' Prize at Venice, a rare achievement for anyone, let alone for a woman working in an industry in which female directors were almost non-existent. Yet, in place of a successful career, her success became her disappearance. Film historian Michael Barnes remarks that what Loden pulled off was something extraordinary, and the response of the industry was to erase her. Still, Loden continued quietly her work on theater and teaching acting, but Hollywood treated her as if she no longer existed. Her film's raw style, the mere rejection of Hollywood varnish and unvarnished portrait of a passive female protagonist, violated everything that this male-dominated studio system required. Rumors got out that she had been blackballed. Cancer took her life in 1980 when she was just 48, and she has disappeared forever. Only years later would Wanda be embraced as the classic it has always been. She did something unforgettable, then vanished, as though she had never been here at all. Number 2. Jean Spangler. Jean Spangler didn't fade from Hollywood. She literally disappeared without a trace. A working actress building her career with small roles in films such as Young Man with a Horn and The Miracle of the Bells, she was on an upward trajectory when she suddenly vanished in 1949. The case reads like a real-life film noir, a mysterious note, suggestive clues, and possible Hollywood connections. Her purse was found near Griffith Park, along with a note addressed to someone named Kirk that mentioned a Dr. Scott and hinted at secret plans. Investigators wondered if the Kirk might be Kirk Douglas, with whom she had recently worked. Douglas admitted knowing her, but denied any deeper connection, and authorities never found enough evidence to pursue the lead. The unanswered questions and the proximity to Hollywood power fueled endless speculation. Spangler walked off a studio lot and into the darkest mystery the industry has ever produced, her fate swallowed by silence and time. Number 3. Philip Ober. Philip Ober was one of those actors everyone recognized, even if they didn't know his name. He appeared in North by Northwest, I Love Lucy, and countless films and television shows. For decades, he was a reliable presence, the kind of performer who held Hollywood's storytelling machinery together, while bigger stars claimed the spotlight. Then suddenly he was gone. Ober retired in the late 1960s and vanished from public view entirely. Entertainment historian Margaret Collins observes that he gave no interviews, made no appearances, and left no public trace after his exit. To viewers who had seen him everywhere, his disappearance created a strange sense of dislocation. One day he was part of Hollywood's fabric. The next, he might as well have been a ghost. His absence underlines the simple fact that the industry forgets even the most familiar faces once they step away. Number 4. Kathleen Case. Kathleen Case committed the one Hollywood sin the industry refused to forgive. Groomed as a rising star in the early 1950s, she had the looks, the talent, and the studio support that promised to make her a leading actress. Then came the tragic high-speed crash that killed a motorcyclist. Though she faced serious legal consequences, the far harsher judgment came from the studios, which immediately distanced themselves from her. Film historian Robert Thompson points out that male stars involved in similar or worse incidents often received quick rehabilitation. In contrast, Case was buried professionally. Her career was finished in an instant, and she essentially disappeared from public life until her death in 1979. Hollywood forgave an endless parade of scandals perpetrated by its men. It never forgave hers. The particulars of her erasure show a clear double standard that drove the industry then and still echoes today. Number 5. Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo didn't exactly retire. She managed one of the most deliberate disappearances in entertainment history. At the pinnacle of her fame and powers of execution, at exactly 36, she simply stopped acting. Unlike those stars who over time slowly fade or intermittently reappear for interviews, memoirs, and tributes, Garbo declined every invitation to re-engage with public life. She gave no interviews, refused publicity, and declined every project that came her way, no matter the price. According to film historian Michael Barnes, Garbo's post-Hollywood life was a work of art, a masterclass in how to disappear intentionally. Privately living in New York, she would walk the city streets, but always protect her anonymity. She kept only a few trusted friends and never joined in on any Hollywood nostalgia. Garbo wanted to be alone, and with remarkable willpower, she attained just that. This wasn't forced on her by scandal or by some kind of failure, but pure, calculated choice until it became legend. Number 6. Dolores Hart. Dolores Hart did not merely leave Hollywood, but left the material world. Having kissed Elvis Presley in Loving You, she was set for a major career. By her early 20s, she had finished 10 successful films and looked assured of continuing stardom. At 24, Hart took the extraordinary step of leaving Hollywood behind and becoming a Benedictine nun. Margaret Collins, an entertainment historian, stresses that this was more than a career change, it was a whole identity and purpose change. Hart exchanged fame for humility, wealth for poverty, and individual advancement for communal service. Hart joined a monastery in Connecticut and remains in religious life to this day, serving as prioress for the Abbey of Regina Laudis. Her departure captures both the deliberateness on intention from her choice and the radical shift in values, prioritizing spiritual fulfillment over Hollywood recognition. Number 7. Peggy Knudsen. Peggy Knudsen didn't just fade from view. She orchestrated a disappearance so complete that even dedicated film buffs couldn't locate her. Known for roles in noir films like The Big Sleep, Knudsen occupied a secondary but recognizable position in Hollywood, particularly in the 1940s and 1950s. After leaving the industry in the early 1960s, she lived in total privacy until her death. Film historian Robert Thompson says her retreat was total. No interviews, no appearances, no public profile of any kind. Her retreat coincided with a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, which progressively limited her mobility and visibility. In all, personal choice and health circumstances combined to ensure her absence from public consciousness was absolute, transforming a familiar screen presence into complete invisibility. Number 8. Carl Alfalfa Switzer. Carl Switzer, America's freckle-faced child star of the Our Gang Little Rascal series, died a violent death at age 31 and hardly anyone noticed. As a child, Switzer was a beloved off-key singing sensation, with a face full of freckles. When he reached adulthood, he never found financial security nor a vocation to sustain him. Despite his appearances in over 100 shorts, he received very little pay and no residuals. In 1959, an argument over a business venture involving a dog ended in Switzer's fatal shooting. Margaret Collins points out that the few lines reporting his passing contrasted sadly with front-page headlines when he was a child, showing Hollywood's concern with money-making personas, not with the human being behind the mask. Switzer's violent death, quietened and largely unnoticed, is the epitome of the vulnerability of former child stars erased from the public memory. Number 9. Gail Russell. Gail Russell's story is one of quiet tragedy. Rising to fame in the 1940s through films like The Uninvited and Angel and the Bad Man, her extraordinary beauty and natural screen presence promised a bright future. Yet Russell suffered from debilitating stage fright and alcoholism, which undermined both her health and career. Film historian Michael Barnes explains that her anxiety was severe, and she began drinking to cope, which further compromised her reliability on set. As her alcoholism progressed, studio support faded, and she gradually disappeared from public view. In 1961, she died alone in her apartment at age 36, her absence unnoticed for weeks. Russell's life provides a sad example of the difference between early promise and ultimate invisibility, showing how even some of the most talented performers can be released by Hollywood. Number 10. Mona Freeman. Mona Freeman didn't just give up on acting. She changed her identity completely. A teenage star of the 1940s in films like Dear Ruth and Junior Miss, Freeman had come to personify wholesome American youth. As she aged out of those ingenue roles, she took up visual art with growing seriousness, and it eventually became her chief creative outlet. Indeed, by the 1970s, she was completely gone from the entertainment scene, taking no more parts and attending no Hollywood functions. According to film historian Robert Thompson, Freeman's retirement was both conscious and absolute. She created an entirely separate identity for herself as a painter, one completely divorced from her screen history. Unlike most erstwhile performers who keep themselves in the public eye from time to time, Freeman turned her back on the limelight completely, leaving behind her early film work while disappearing herself from public view. Number 11. Elizabeth Hartman. Elizabeth Hartman didn't merely disappear from Hollywood, she disappeared from life itself, largely unnoticed. An Oscar-nominated actress for A Patch of Blue 1965, she received critical acclaim at only 22 years old for her sensitive, emotionally true performance of a blind girl in love. According to film historian Margaret Collins, Hartman's talent indicated a future of artistic importance rather than mere stardom. But her career never gathered momentum. Suffering from depression for many years, she began to retreat from acting. Performances became sporadic despite continuing quality. She died by suicide in 1987 at age 45 by leaping from the window of her fifth-floor apartment. Few even knew she was still alive. Hartman's progressive disappearance from Hollywood serves as one prominent example of the ways in which the industry can eradicate even exceptional talent from cultural consciousness long before physical death. Number 12. Leah Leeds. Leah Leeds' disappearance was the result of deliberate industry erasure. Arrested alongside Robert Mitchum in a 1948 marijuana bust, she faced identical charges, but was treated drastically differently due to gender and power dynamics. While Mitchum's career survived with minimal damage, Leeds' promising trajectory ended immediately. Her contract was terminated, roles reassigned, and industry support withdrawn. Entertainment historian Thomas Henderson explains that Leeds was effectively scapegoated, her public punishment serving as a warning, while Mitchum benefited from careful studio management. After a brief stint in minor films, she vanished into obscurity, living quietly until her death in 1999. Her erasure reflects Hollywood's moral economy, where sacrificial examples reinforce the system, while more commercially valuable figures were protected. 13. Betty Hutton. Betty Hutton fell from the pinnacle of Hollywood fame to near total obscurity. A major musical star of the 1940s, displaced in popular affection by Annie Get Your Gun and The Greatest Show on Earth. She was one of Paramount's most valuable properties. Racked by studio system changes and personal struggles, she unraveled, ending in a nervous breakdown. After her retreat, Hutton moved to Rhode Island, teaching on a Catholic campus under an assumed name. Film historian Robert Thompson underscores that hers was a thorough disappearance. Friends from her heyday mostly had no idea where she was. From millions of audiences to the quiet tones of teaching, Hutton shows in her life the extreme contrast between the heights of fame and anonymous existence, pointing out the capability of Hollywood to remove even its most brilliant stars from visibility and consciousness. Number 14. Turasatana. Turasatana never fit Hollywood's molds, and the industry didn't know how to handle her. A cult icon for faster, Pussycat. Kill. Satana's commanding physical presence, unapologetic sexuality, and aggressive agency defied the era's limited female representations. As film historian Michael Barnes indicates, her mixed ethnic background further complicated casting opportunities in an industry obsessed with racial categorization. Satana refused to compromise her persona, rejecting stereotypical roles that would have offered mainstream visibility. After her brief cult recognition, she all but disappeared from cinema for decades, resurfacing only in fan conventions as appreciation for her work grew. Too powerful, too ahead of her time, she was effectively erased. Her legacy later reclaimed through the lens of feminist and cult film scholarship. Number 15. Sandra Locke. Sandra Locke's disappearance from Hollywood was not voluntary. It was engineered. Her professional and personal relationship with Clint Eastwood left her in a vulnerable position when it ended. Entertainment journalist Rebecca Santos reports that Locke alleged systematic interference with her career, claiming her former partner's influence and industry connections blocked access to opportunities she deserved. Especially hurt were her aspirations as a director, since studio relationships critical for directing projects were closed to her. Locke's visibility went away not by choice or audience preference, but by active limitation imposed by powerful industry figures. She didn't just leave Hollywood. She was erased, her talent and potential removed from consideration despite her qualifications. Hollywood's golden age was a world of glittering lights and endless possibility, but behind that glamour lurked a darker truth. The industry could elevate you to unimaginable heights and erase you just as completely. The stories of Barbara Loden, Gene Spangler, Philip Ober, Kathleen Case, Greta Garbo, Dolores Hart, Peggy Knudsen, Carl Switzer, Gail Russell, Mona Freeman, Elizabeth Hartman, Leah Leeds, Betty Hutton, Turasatana, and Sandra Locke exposed the variegated ways stars disappeared from deliberate withdrawal and spiritual transformation through blackballing, personal tragedy, and systemic erasure. Some took the exit of their own free will. Some were pushed towards it, while others simply fell through the cracks of a single-minded industry obsessed with marketable personas over human lives. These disappearances remind us that fame is fragile, memory is selective, and Hollywood's golden sheen often conceals cruelty, injustice, and loss. For every star immortalized on screen, there were countless others whose brilliance flickered briefly before vanishing, leaving behind only questions, legends, and that haunting reminder of the price of being a star.